Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show, where we talk about all components of business and how to utilize them for exponential growth. My name is Athin Cassiotis. I'm a serial entrepreneur, international speaker, results strategist, business coach, mentor, and consultant. Today, I have an awesome guest. He is an entrepreneur, multiple business owner, founder of Dogulin Digital and Dental Rank. He gets your business onto the first page of Google with integrity, transparency, and accountability. Welcome, Nicholas Dogulin, and thank you for being on my show.
Awesome introduction, mate. Thank you so much. Sounded amazing. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Love it, mate. It's always awesome when somebody else introduces us, and happy to bring that to the table. So
I need that recording. That sounds awesome. I'll play it every day when I wake up.
Awesome, mate. I'll definitely provide that to you, and maybe we could do a bit of a JV or something and get this out to your clients as well. So
cool.
Got to enjoy it. So so awesome to have you here, man. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing show for everyone today. So, you're a very successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, please introduce yourself by telling us about you and your journey.
Yeah, cool, mate. My pleasure. So kind of my journey, well, I've had the businesses now for about 8 years, but my journey pretty much started actually when I was 8 years old. So I was in my uncle's room, or I was just playing with my uncle, and he was pulling apart a computer actually, and I thought this thing was the fanciest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, wow, that thing looks so cool. I want to know more and more about it. And ever since then, I kind of just studied everything to do with computers, to do with technology, and then that kind of built into sort of software development. And I wanted to get to the point where I was just a coding monkey. So I was just building cool stuff and coding all day long, and one of those Silicon Valley kind of guys that you see these days. And it went from that to then going to university. And when I got to uni to do it, they wanted me to know all the theory behind it. And I'm a very lazy dude in nature. And that means I always find very quick ways of doing things. And writing code from scratch didn't sit well with me. So I thought, okay, well, let's look at other ways. And that's when I fell into the whole business world of it. And then realized that I really, really love talking to people, and I like getting out there and networking and all that. And I thought, okay, let me get into the business side, and I'll hire people that can do all the technical side, the part that I used to love. And then I was working full-time for someone who's actually a mentor to this day still, and I have a lot of my success is actually owed to him. And what I couldn't understand was when you got everything done in a certain amount of time, and yet you still had to work till 5 p.m. I couldn't understand why you still have to wait there. So I thought, well, let me start my own thing, because then I can dictate my own time. So as we all know, in the business world and entrepreneurial world, I went from leaving what a normally 38-hour week to then working a 70 to 90-hour week, but I actually felt free because it was my own thing, right? So did that and started just in web design development, hired my first employee literally day one. They were overseas in Bosnia. So Bosnians, Eastern Europeans are very good at dev. So I had it for a few years, built some great sites. And I thought, you know what, we're building these things as transactional, but no one's coming to the websites. What do we need to do? So then I kind of looked into the online marketing perspective of that and was doing white label SEO and AdWords. So we were using another company, external company, to do that and branding it as ourselves. Built that over a couple of years to the point of actually taking over the Australian operations for that company, because we were their biggest reseller at the time. So I ran that for about 2 years before selling that off. And then my best mate, still to this day, he actually approached me and said, Nick, listen, I'm working at a dental practice here in the Hills district of Sydney. We don't like the guys we're working with currently. Do you reckon you can maybe look at helping us? I didn't even know dental marketing was a thing at the time. So I looked at it, and we did what we normally do, which is the website, and then implemented AdWords, SEO, and social media. And we took them from 20 patients a month recurring to 90 patients a month recurring in a short amount of time. Being the entrepreneur I am, I saw the opportunity, branded Dental Rank, go on the cover of dental magazines and dental specific podcasts and events and things like that. And now it just kind of grows organically. So we get about, probably get about 2-3 new dentists on every single month. And the best part of it is the dentist, say in one suburb, is more than happy to refer a dentist, 30, 40, 50, 100 kilometers away, because it's not a competitor. So we just kind of grow that way, and it's referral only. and it's working out really, really well. So it's kind of that niche, the dental medical niche is where we really like to play. And we've got the pinpoint patient acquisition system, and we've just built this thing over a period of time. It's kind of like the Ray Kroc story. McDonald's, they're more about the land and they're all about the systems. So I've kind of built this system, and a dentist coming in today here or a medical professional coming in here today will have the same journey and experience virtually similar results. And it kind of works really well. So now my team, their number one request recently was, Nick, you need to get out of the systems because you really delay us and you suck. So just please stay on sales and partnerships and networking, which works well for me because that's the three things I probably love most in the business world. So yeah, that's kind of my journey till now, and about to launch MedRank, which will cover other areas of the medical sort of professions, and dental will always be our bread and butter and the bit I love most because obviously got that personal connection with my best mate. So yeah, mate, that's kind of my story in an absolute nutshell. If we had a 4-hour podcast, I'd probably be able to go into parts of the story even further, but I think you get sick of it after a while.
Awesome, mate. It's an amazing story, and I love like how it starts from young, and then we go through some study and a few other things and start the business, and then eventually from working crazy hours we work out, okay, there must be a better way of doing this, and then you've made your your area in especially in the dental, and now expanding that to medical and stuff. Really massive. So that's awesome, man. And it was interesting as well. Yeah. The white labeling thing that you did and how it sort of all went through. So you've sold businesses, you've built multiple businesses. So there's a lot of awesome stuff there. So, and digital marketing and like that, it's a big thing, right? Like there's a lot of areas. And I think, the biggest one that I like to see that you do is, let's start with SEO, right? Because I think that's a big one, right? So for those people who don't know, that's search engine optimization, just in case most people know that, but just got to let it out, everyone know that. So that's on Google and other search engines. So for those people who don't, what are the key factors, I guess, that impact our SEO?
Yeah, cool. Good question. So just taking a step further back, one of the questions we get the most is, what is the difference between like SEO and AdWords, and should we do one versus the other? And I always like to use analogies, and the best one I use for this is sort of the housing market. So if you can look at AdWords is kind of like you're a tenant and you're paying rent. So you're paying rent to Google to get your listing to the very, very top straight away, as long as you keep paying them, right? SEO, on the other hand, it's like you've just bought a house. So anyone that's bought a house before, not that I have, but if you bought one, you're going to be laying out quite a bit up front. You're going to have a mortgage, but as long as you tend to that and you tend to your house and you maintain it, you're then eventually going to make that into an asset and a profit. And that's kind of what your SEO is. So it's over a time. So you've got to invest 9 to 12 months at least into an SEO campaign. And it's going to look like you're just throwing money down the drain in the early months because nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden it's like a switch. And then you start ranking for your top tier keywords. But it's over a period of time. As long as you keep nurturing that, creating new content, you'll be fine. So back to your question, like what are the main things that you need? So there's a few elements, and it all really does come down to the website itself. So everyone thinks, look, I've just thrown together a website, I'll do the SEO. I'm like, no, that's the worst thing you can do. You got to have a really good website that has user experience at the forefront. So you got to think, it's almost as if you're fishing. So you got to go, okay, well, who's coming to my website? What bait do I need to use? What tackle do I need to use? All that kind of stuff. So you put yourself in your customer's mind and be like, this is the content they're trying to find. This is what I want them to do, kind of lead them down the journey. And if you think of Google as it's the world's biggest library, right? And anyone that's been to, the very archaic libraries, you go to a reference sheet, you pull it out and you find, where your book is. Google works in the same way. So for them to know where they want to send their customers, which are search users, internet search users, they've got to be able to, on your website, find that information very quickly, very efficiently, and know that when they send someone to it, it'll be the information they want that they can get very quickly, and it'll be a good user experience. So that's a few of them. Also keeping your content updated as much as possible. So the easiest way to do that is through new blogs, uploading, more images, or linking to your videos through to YouTube, which is obviously owned by Google. So you do the embedding side of things with that. Social media posts also really help because you can drive traffic to the website from that, or having your feed come through your website. are the important ones. But then also having a look at where your website is hosted. So if you're an Australian company, you shouldn't have your website hosted anywhere outside of Australia. It just doesn't make sense. So that's why we went more into, well, for our customers anyway, we do the hosting for them too. So we built a hosting environment, and dare say we're one of the quickest hosts that people don't really know about unless you're a customer of ours. So we factor all that into it, which is super important from an SEO perspective. And we kind of tell people, look, unless you're willing to do that, unless you're willing to rebuild the website, have us do your content for you so we can make sure there's the fine line between user-friendly content for your readers and also content-friendly for the search engines. There's kind of no point. I'm not going to waste my team's time and resources on driving traffic to a site that we know is not going to convert. And because I run our agency's referral only, I'm not also going to taint our reputation and mine personally, obviously, by giving you something that we know you're not going to get a return on. And I think, that's probably where this whole SEO is black magic and smoke and mirrors, and, they're like snake oil salesmen, all these SEO reps. I'm actually known, or I think I'm known, for talking people out of SEO more than into it. Because if it doesn't make sense for your business, or your website's just not capable of housing a really good SEO campaign, mate, don't do it. Like, it doesn't make sense. I'll tell you what you need to do to get it there. And if you want to self-implement, go for gold. And if you want a really good campaign, then come to us. But yeah, that's kind of the main elements, and it's always going to be the case. I don't see it changing anytime soon. And any client that's done that with us, complemented by a really good AdWords campaign and social media campaign with the website in the middle, have always got great results.
Yeah, awesome, man. So many amazing points there. And it was interesting to hear, you say it was like 9 to 12 months, right? So just to get people's awareness that like a campaign to really get there. And I'm assuming that's to get, on that first page of Google at that, good result. And obviously it depends on, your niche and a few other things like that about what it is. And you mentioned some interesting words like black magic, right, in there. Yeah. So, and then I think, you would know this, there's certain things that are like ethical ways of doing it and maybe not so ethical ways, right, of doing SEO. So do you want to maybe elaborate on your experiences and how you is the ethical way of doing it?
Yeah, very good question. So the non-ethical ways, which is probably the one I'll touch on the most, is, remember back in the day, I don't know if you've built websites in the past, but you used to do what's called keyword stuffing. So your website, let's say your homepage is white, you would create obviously your text in black, but then you would actually have some text that's white, so you wouldn't see it pop up, and it'd be all your keywords in there. Back in the day, when I say back in the day, probably like 5 to 7 years ago, that worked really well and you'd rank and it's all good. Nowadays, Google's smartening up and they can pick up on all those bad tactics. But one of the tactics which people do a lot still, and it baffles us as to why it still happens, is what's called doorway pages. So if you've got a business, and we've taken some clients from other agencies who had this implemented. Unfortunately, we have to keep it going and sort of wean it out, because otherwise they're going to tank straight away. It's almost like you've got one business, but you can cover the entire region of Sydney. So you create a location page for every single one of those suburbs, right? So you could have like 700, 800, 900 suburb pages, but it's all the same shit. And that's a really bad strategy. And a lot of agencies don't realize this is so bad, but it is, because you're kind of duping the viewers, and you're kind of, trying to cheat Google by doing so. Because it's like saying, hey, all these 700 pages have the exact same content on it that we want to rank for, but it's the same thing and it leads all the way to the same page. It's kind of like that doorway page. That's one of the modern day ones that people seem to still be getting wrong. So you need to try and make sure that you have unique content. So that's why I say ours is a 9 to 12 month strategy minimum to even get anywhere near page 1 or 2. You can have these other SEO agencies that charge you maybe $250 a month or up to $1,000 a month, and you'll be on page 1 within like weeks or a month. And that's because they do these kind of things. And all of a sudden you'll find in a few years' time, Google's found out, and then you're off the internet for 7 years. Like, you don't want to run that risk. So with us, it's like, great, you want to rank in those suburbs, perfect. Get us imagery of jobs you've done in that suburb. Get us case studies of things, testimonials of things that you maybe have done in those suburbs, and let's build unique content for each of those pages. Option 1. Option 2 is you can build them to have non-unique content, but you don't index them, meaning you can't be found on Google unless you get there via Google Ads, which is totally fine in that case, because you're not trying to rank for those pages. You're just using them for your customers to be able to get that information and come through. So that's probably the one that shines out the most to me. And then it's also PBNs. So creating private blog networks. I'm not a big fan of this. Imagine you're in like a warehouse and you've just bought 20,000 computers and you say, okay, all these 20,000 computers are going to ping my one website. So that's one way of doing it. Or you create a blog on each one of those 20,000, IPs, individual IPs, linking back to your one website. It's like, well, there's kind of no user experience there at all. It's almost like fake traffic, but it really works from a non-ethical point of view. So from outside, we're like, look, if you want to work with us on SEO, we're doing things the ethical way, no ifs or buts about it. Ethics is huge for me because my dad's a criminal lawyer. He's probably the only person in 35 years I've never won an argument against. Probably will remain that way. But ethics is huge. And that's one of our core values in the business is transparency, accountability and ethics. And that's just the way we do it. We're like, look, how can we build a really good SEO strategy? With our content plans, we create about 4 really solid blog pieces for our customers a month over a 90-day period. And we just know that if you do SEO, with us or agencies similar to us who follow the same principles and guidelines, you stand a really good chance of doing quite well in the long game.
Yeah, awesome, mate. So many awesome points. And yes, our website is like that, that real estate of the business, so to speak, right? Where people find us, and we don't want to rock up one day and then a big, sledgehammer or big ball just comes in and smashes it over. And then, your business is compromised, down the line, because that can have a massive detrimental impact on your business. So, awesome to hear that, you guys are doing that. And definitely it's like the tortoise and the hare sort of thing, right? It's like the stolen steady wins the race. Because
100%,
in that way, for longevity. So that's awesome. And you mentioned a few different things there and that. So I guess if we're talking about just content now, right, on social media, which is important, how should we create, I guess, or position our content to get great results? Because I know that depending on what you do with linking stuff as well, there's some challenges and stuff like that. So what's a good way to get our content that can help us, to build that SEO as well?
So you're talking the content on social media or content in general?
Well, I don't know. You tell me of what you think.
Yeah. So look, when it comes to the social media and content itself, obviously, my team handle that and they know the strategies. I know it from like sort of a sales general perspective, but it always comes back down to what are your customers wanting to see and expecting to see, and are you wanting to convert? So there's kind of 2 ways. It's like, do you want the vanity stuff? Like, do you want more likes on the page? Do you want more, more eyeballs on your content? Or do you want traffic coming to your website? All of those have different types of content. So when we create our content calendars, they have different, obviously different topics, but also different types. So it's like website traffic, or it might be, like campaigns. So building up your likes. It might be share campaigns. And that's all what our target is. One of the things we get the most, though, especially in our dental niche, is customers go, oh, but Nick, I'm sure our patient base or our customer base don't really want to see stuff about dentistry all the time. Right. And I'm like, yeah, interesting you say that. I said, because you being the owner would see your content day in, day out. It's your business day in, day out. Your customers are seeing probably definitely hundreds, if not thousands of businesses on a weekly basis with stuff coming up on social media. So the chance of them seeing yours probably only like 2-3%. So if you do have those one post or that couple of posts going out about the facts of it or anything like that, they probably want to see it. So we try to think outside the box. So like during COVID, with all our practices, they if anything, they lit a fire, underneath their social media to boost it up a bit more. And we were saying, okay, well, people at home. So if people at home, what are they doing? They're not getting into their routines. By not getting into your routine, you're not brushing your teeth. So let's put on some stuff there about gum health and running the risk of not brushing your teeth or not flossing your teeth or something like that, or your children, because they from home or they're not going to school, what does that look like? What do you need to do? So it's kind of that factual stuff. And then we say, oh, by the way, book in your next appointment, something like that. That's how we do the content. But what's important is if we're doing that on social media, and why you'd work with an agency as opposed to one that just does ads or just does social, just does SEO, is we then have our SEO content emulate or have a sort of an extended version of that social media content. And then we also have an AdWords campaign that's about the same topic. So it's all kind of the same thing. And when that client gets retargeted or the prospect gets retargeted, they're seeing the same message. And then that's how we build up the campaigns and we build up the content. We say, okay, this group that we tested, they reacted really well to the gum health one. Let's put them in a gum health campaign. Or these guys here reacted well to teeth whitening, but not so much on this one. So we can mix and match and play. So when like with our customers, they're spending anywhere from just AdWords $850, but most customers are around maybe about the 3, 4, 5,500 mark a month with us, excluding ad spend. But they know they're getting a return. Like minimum, we get clients 3, 4, 5x return on that. And that's just because it's over a period of time. So we never really analyze campaigns on a weekly basis, fortnightly, or sometimes even monthly. It's quarterly. So it's okay, for the next quarter, this is what the plan is. When we start in the early stage of the customer on the sales side, always work out what's your 6-month, 1 year, and 3 year goal with us. So that from a mindset perspective, they know they're with us for at least 3 years because that's the goal. And then we know for a year, this is the target, but we execute on 90-day chunks. So we say, okay, in the first 90 days, are we getting close to the 6-month target? Sometimes we're going to exceed it. So I tell the customer, listen, don't want to come here and gloat and say that we're going to hit it. I actually want us to set it higher so that we can have something to attain. But that means we move your 1 and 3 year target. And sometimes that target's not even marketing. It could be, okay, in 1 year's time, you might want to get an associate dentist on. If you get an associate dentist on, that means we have to get you X number of leads. But in 3 years, you actually want to add another chair into the practice. Well, your practice isn't big enough for that. And this is where my extended network comes in. Because I'm like, well, I actually know fit out guys, or I know guys that find practices and things like that. And that's where we build up the referral only thing, is through the partner channels. Like that's the best way to operate. Ironically, we don't do our own SEO and AdWords, and I never will, because it's all referral based. And I'd rather my team be invested in our customers' campaigns than trying to make ours amazing, because no one likes to see ads from agencies. I get them all the time. So yeah, that's kind of, I don't even know what the question was, but that gives you a little bit of an idea of what I was talking about.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, mate. You went on some really great points there. And what I really loved was the planning element, like you were talking about, right? Because that's in business in general, right? We should be doing these things. So it's great that you're bringing that to your customers in terms of their marketing and stuff. And, everyone listening, these are the types of things you have to be thinking about in your business, right? Is chunking things down to 90 days and, and then ongoing and what that is. And it's amazing that, and the good thing about marketing is you can track it, right? So you can determine what the return is, right? Because that's what it's all about in business. You've got to invest and get a return on that investment.
That's it.
Yeah. And I think we touched on it a little bit before, but I think niching is a good topic, right? So it's very important in business, and your dental rank is a great example of that, right? Where, you're doing digital stuff and you're like, what, let's just focus on dentists and you're smashing that. And then you can obviously niche into other areas with that same business or other businesses. So how important is it, not only from the business point of view, but I guess from a digital marketing point of view as well?
To niche?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, if you look at it, right, if you put yourself in the customer's shoes, you're approaching 2 agencies. You're approaching one that's a generic agency that works with old mate on this corner and old mate on this corner, and they're 2 very different businesses. Or you're going to us like Dental Rank, and it's like, hey, all we do is dental. Like, we know dental. We know every guideline there is. We know what content you can have, what content you can't have, and the price you pay us, we know exactly what return you're going to get. Like, to the point of, I know exactly how much it's going to cost you to get a scale and clean, which is basically going into a dentist and getting sort of like a checkup done. I know the service cost. So on all their items. Now, when a client comes to us at the beginning, we do a discovery session, which is a 2-hour session up front, where we want to learn everything about the business before we get any pricing out the window or strategy or anything like that. When they do that though, and I ask them, okay, tell me about the business, or tell me, what your customers would say about you or your staff say about you, I can pretty much regurgitate what they're going to say before they say it. because we do it day in, day out. And what that means is you become so ingrained in an industry that you can do it with your eyes closed, and my team can do it with our eyes closed. So when we look at profitability in the business, all our dental clients, the profit's pretty consistent. With the ones outside of that, you have to learn a whole new industry every single time. Like we've recently taken on, an electrical company. We've taken on an events company. We've taken on like a fit out company, all those kind of things. Like we have to learn those industries. We don't know the ins and outs of it. But when a dentist comes to us, mate, we'll get you the results, no doubt. And if we can't, I'll tell you exactly why. So that's the value of niching, and you become an industry expert, and everyone wants to deal with experts, Like if you want a really solid business coach, I can introduce you to one, but you're one. So that's great. But one of the other, what else is cool about it is you actually build partners in those channels. So one of the things that we do in Discovery, actually one of the very first questions I ask them is, hey, what's your turnover and what's your profit? Bluntly, very bluntly. And the reason we do that is I'm not here to mess around. Like we're here to help your business. And if you want me to help your business, you got to trust me like I'm your family. Because the first question you get, or the first email you get when you join us is welcome to the Dental Rank family, or welcome to the Dogulin family, because it is that way. And when they say, yeah, look, our turnover is X amount and our profits Y, we might say, look, right now, probably not a good fit to work with us or do any sort of marketing. I need to introduce you to a business coach, or I need to introduce you to this person or this person to help you with your business. So you become like almost like a confidant to them, and you become like an advisor, and they know that, okay, we can't work with you now. But what's interesting is when you do that and you say no to them, they do whatever they can to come back and work with you later, which is awesome. And we have waiting lists in the suburbs. So we say, look, right now there's no one in the suburb that you want us to work in. Don't know what it's like down the track, but, we'll keep you at the top of the list anyway, just to check. And so, yeah, it's kind of that scarcity mindset and not wanting to let us down. And when you put it back on them, it's very interesting. So we say, look, why should Dental Rank work with you guys out of all the dentists that could potentially we could service in the area? Like, why you guys? What's so awesome about you? Like, what makes us make you look so great in a digital marketing perspective that when your patients see that, they want to come into your practice? Like, what makes you so different? And so we help them extract that, and we build everything out from a branding perspective to content to design. And it's so awesome. Like there's clients that we've been around 8 years. I've got clients now that have been with us basically 6 years when we started when we started the lead gen side of things, not just websites. They've been around for donkeys, and then they give us the recommendations and referrals, and any client that refers us, a paying client, their invoice is actually half price the following month, which my accountant hates, but I love it from a sales perspective because it saves me doing a sales, spiel. So yeah, it's really cool. And that's probably why I love business so much, is you get to meet some amazing people, you get to help businesses. But one of the mind-blowing things that I came across, a couple of years ago, I was like, okay, great. So I'm at the helm of this agency, which is awesome. It's, very proud moment for me. I love the business. Like it's my second son, because I've got a son, so I can't really say it's better than him, because it's not. But it's like, great, I run this thing, but I'm looking after my staff and their families, which is awesome. I'm putting food on their table. But at the same token, like we B2B, so I'm looking after their business, their staff, their customers who are theirs with this, and it all comes back to me, which is kind of scary. Like you almost want to get into a fetal position and go, wow, I can't believe everybody's relying on me to make sure that all this stuff is in check. So yeah, it's very, very, it's very humbling. It's a very proud place to be in. And knowing when you can help people by getting those, reviews, or you talk to people during the monthly meetings and like, Nick, this is awesome. Like, we don't have enough place to put these patients that are coming in, or our business has done X revenue since joining you guys. Like, it's amazing, man. Like you can't really, I mean, you probably understand it, but try explain that to someone who's in a regular job 9 to 5. They don't get it. Yeah, it's awesome.
I love it, mate. Yeah, you're smashing those goals, and you definitely know your stuff. And what I like is obviously you do the work, right? Whether it's like initially how you say you look at the other industries, you still do your homework, right? It just takes you more time as a business to do it, to really ensure that you get them the results. Otherwise, if they want to, fit into the dental system that you've got, that's like pretty much guaranteed results, right? Because you know that space very well. But I love that you do your homework, because that's really important, in ensuring that you can deliver. And I guess if we go more down the digital marketing side of things, right? Which is getting a lot bigger these days. So if we're focusing on ads right now, so I guess there's a lot of different things. Like there's Google AdWords, we've got the different social media platforms and things like that. So what are the best platforms? And I know this can depend on the business type as well, right? On what we sort of focus on. So I'd love to hear your take on the different ads and things like that.
Yeah. Again, it comes back down to your audience, right? So you have a look at, and you can literally profile your CRM if you've got one. Some people still work off spreadsheets. Others have things like HubSpot or Entrepreneur or whatever the case is. Look at your CRM, look at the businesses, look at what they interact with, because some might make sense that they're only on LinkedIn. Like, and some make sense where it's only on Facebook. If you've got sort of a younger audience, then it might be TikTok, but it's also different elements of why you would use those social media platforms. So the more serious side, you'd be on the LinkedIn side of things. If you want to fun and friendly and all that stuff and getting some reels out there, it's TikTok. Personally, I hate almost every single social media platform there is out there. I refuse to try and look at it more than half an hour a day. Luckily, the guys I employ love them, and they look after it. But that's how we kind of say it. So if a customer comes to us and says, "Hey, we've got all these platforms, which one should we focus on?" It's like, let me ask you a question. Would you rather have 10 followers on each one or have 100 on one? So if you're going to focus on it and you've got already the followers, great, keep it going. But if you're just starting out, have a look at which one's going to generate the goals that you want from that platform, and then just focus on that one. Determine on what that goal needs to be, and once you've hit it, then move on to the next platform. Or if you're happy, you can build them in unison, like Facebook, Instagram. You can manage them out of the one platform, and it's usually interchangeable. And if you're video based, great. Go on to, put all your videos on YouTube 100%, but also maybe start creating some lives. So Facebook lives works really well. The Instagram ones, a bit of TikTok here and there. So it's really just working out what that goal is, but don't sell yourself short. Don't say, okay, I'm going to do this for 1 month, and if I don't get a return, I'm going to stop it. Everything needs to have that long-term play. Everyone underestimates what they can do, in 1 year, and overestimate what they can do in 1 month. So it's kind of like, hey, just be in it for the long haul. Look at what your budget allows. Can you self-implement? Like with a lot of our customers, you're like, hey, we'll do your social media posts. We'll do maybe two or three posts a week, and we'll do your ads. But you guys are there, and you can do the live stuff, right? So come up with some really good topics for that. Sometimes it's fun and friendly, just, oh, you guys got cupcakes for the business? Great, put that out there. People, what we've realized, the posts that actually do the best are the real personal ones. So when we say, hey, this is so-and-so who works at the practice, or on another side, it's like, this is our office dog or something like that. People react to that. You might not get a sale out of it, but it kind of builds it. And what you want out of the social media or marketing in general is someone walking down the street mentioning, a product or service that you have, and then they go, oh, I saw something like that recently on social media. You should go check out X, Y, and Z. And that's kind of how it builds up for us. So we do it as sort of as part of the whole strategy, the part of our content plans. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be just one platform that outshrines all of them. I think they each serve a different purpose, and it's just trying to work out where your audience sit the most. And that's where you do the social media audits and split testing. So run the same ad that you would on Facebook to, say, Instagram, see which one, where it works better, and then focus that ad or that demographic on that platform. And that's where the data, comes into it. So when you're running it, you need to look at the time, the time of day, what days it is, the gender, gender specific. So is it more males or females looking at the ad, from what area, for instance, the wording that's used, for instance, when you're split testing it, do they react better to some words versus others? The landing page that it goes to, which ad did it perform better on, the Instagram one or the Facebook one? Okay, great. Let's tweak the same landing page for Facebook versus a different one for Instagram, and let's build it up that way. So there's a lot to it. So when people are self-implementing SEO, AdWords, social media, they get annoyed because they're not getting the return they want, or they're happy, to just get minuscule return because they're doing it themselves. I'm like, yeah, but think of the potential you're losing. So if you run a particular ad, you get someone there that don't interact, you've lost them for life, right? That's why you got to make sure that up front you do all the work, you do all the research, the strategy, implement it properly, and then light a fire on it. So
yeah,
yeah,
awesome points there, mate. I love the detail that you go into it all. And I'll just add a little bit of what I see from a bit of a higher level for people, and you may or may not agree, but I guess I see a lot of like bricks and mortar type businesses. I see AdWords are big for those guys, right? Because if people want to find a dentist or they want to find an electrician, they normally search for Google, right? Like, can I find an electrician, right? So I see that happening. Like LinkedIn is more of a business to business type platform, right? So if you've got a business that works on that, whereas, I'm seeing that Facebook can have both as well as Instagram, but they're more business to consumer, Instagram more products and things like that. So Facebook's a bit of a big beast. It's got a lot of things on Facebook because it was one of the main original platforms. So I guess that was just my little take of what I see going on, and help people in a simple sense. But then, if they really want to do this properly, is, finding people like yourself and go, hey guys, we're going to go deep and do a lot of the testing, and then, get you the best result basically. Right. So that's awesome.
And like when someone goes, look, should we do SEO, AdWords, or social media? If we had to pick one, who would you do? And you've got to remember your SEO and AdWords are people looking for you straight away. So you're looking for an electrician in Sydney, right? Oh, probably not electrician. That's probably not the best. So maybe it's dentist, right? We'll use that because we know it so well. So someone's looking for one in the suburb. Well, let's say you're in Randwick and someone goes, okay, dentist near Randwick or dentist in Randwick or around Randwick. They looking for you, so you can make the ad almost salesy, because it's like saying, hey, best dentist in Randwick, blah, 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 whatever the wording is. I'm not a copywriter. But on social media, we might say, okay, cool. Find me people that live in the Randwick area who maybe go to the school, maybe have shown an interest in X, Y, and Z, who maybe follow X, Y, and Z pages or whatever. Put our ad in front of them because they would be the perfect sort of patient base for us. And let's see how they react to that. So that's why you would look at it and go, okay, if you want a slow burn and do more of the attraction side of things, then do social media. If you know that there's a huge base looking for you and you just want to, play up there, then let's do the AdWords and SEO, probably more so AdWords because SEO is long term. If you want leads right away, SEO is not the way to do it. AdWords is. AdWords or social ads, and the best combination is the two. So part of our acquisition strategies is we have a look at the business, the audience, the traffic numbers and all that, and then we determine which of those strategies to implement over what period of time. But yeah, that's probably the most basic way of looking at it.
Yeah, awesome, mate. I love that. And I guess, you touched on it a little bit before, but like once with the ad, right, wherever it is, it normally goes to a landing page, right? Like you said. Yeah. So, and that's important, so people take action, right? Or whatever it is that you're doing. So what can you share about what's important, I guess, to have on that landing page?
Mm-hmm. So a landing page isn't necessarily your entire story, why you're awesome, your family history, your business history, all that kind of stuff, right? Which we see happen a lot. It's like, hey, check out this landing page. I'm like, great, it's an awesome biography. I don't really want to read the whole thing. So it should be just short and sharp. It's like people are coming there because they've already interacted with the ads somehow, right? So keep it to maybe like one paragraph, two maybe maximum, but have a lot of imagery and video on there and a clear, like I cannot stress that enough, a clear call to action. Don't have multiple, have one, right? So if it's like you've run an ad for someone, like a 15-point checklist for, how to do your accounting if you're an accounting firm, or, what to look out for X, Y, and Z. Like when they come on that landing page, don't then just have one, contact our team for more information, or have you watched this video, or have you done this? No, have the call to action there, which is download the fact sheet. Like make it simple. What you can do one step from there is have the double opt-in one so you can see when they drop off. But yeah, the easiest thing with a landing page is just keep it very visual, one clear call to action and minimal text. If they then want to go into more detail, they will navigate to the website or have an option there to read more detail if they want to. But yeah, that would pretty much be my biggest point. And you try and make it, and with all landing pages that we create anyway, because they're so conversion focused, we actually don't have them as part of the menu structure on the website, and they're not even indexable. It has to come only via the ads. So that way, if it's come from a Google ad, if it's come from, from SEO or social, we usually implement call tracking onto those ads or form tracking and set up Google Analytics with different goals so we can see it and we know what keyword it came from, who interacted on it, what day and how, and what they did afterwards. So like what the entry entry page is usually a landing page. What's the exit page? Is it the same page? Do they want more information? Great. If they did, how do we then optimize that page to include that info? Do we need to maybe do a step before the landing page? What is it? So yeah, that's how you kind of build those out. And some companies that we work with might only have 1 or 2 landing pages. Others have, tens of. Well, it just depends on the campaigns and the price that you work with. And, yeah. And then you can get into the AdWords side in terms of budgets and what you should be spending and all that based on the landing pages. And that's when it can get blown out again. So yeah, there's a lot that goes to it. And it's a very, definitely in the early stages with the customer, it's very educational. Yeah, and they want to know, should we run this ad or that ad, or what do we do here or there? And it's quite fun talking about it. But at the end of the day, we say, look, just trust us. Like, we know what we're doing. There's no contracts with us. Like initial 90 days and then month to month. Because if you're not happy working with us and we're not happy working with you, why should you be bound to a contract? Just let's go on separate ways. Luckily, we've never had to do that for a number of years now. So yeah, but it's really interesting. And we love working with businesses that actually give a shit about their marketing, not ones that have just heard these buzzwords and want to get it going, like ones that are actually committed to it, provide us content, provide information, all that stuff. It's really fun because you feel as if you're part of the business. And we explain to them, we're like, look, you could hire our agency for X amount a month. And, or you could hire a full-time marketing coordinator. But the marketing coordinator will probably have to work with an agency like us. They also take sick leave. They also leave early on Friday. They also come late on Mondays and they take holiday leave and they do all these things, and you're paying them basically the same amount that you'd pay our agency, which has 14 experts in each of the different areas that have done this day in, day out. And that's all we do. It's almost like a no-brainer to use an agency.
Yeah, definitely, man. I love that. And I love that you have that model where it's an ongoing thing, right? Because that really proves that you get the results, right? Because people stay with you. It's not like, hey, we've locked you in for 3 years, sucked in, like that. It's actually, you know what, guys, like you said, after 90 days, let's do it month by month. We'll deliver the results, right? And then, you obviously have that, on the board, and people stay with you long term, in that sort of way. So that's awesome to hear. And that's a better way of doing business, right? In there and backing yourself. And I love that you brought it back to the person in the business. You can hire someone, but how long it's going to take for them to actually learn what you guys know and how deep, like you said, you can pay the same thing, which is awesome.
But I mean, you also would hire them and then they might find another job elsewhere and then they leave and then they take your IP and all that. It's like you work with an agency. I don't care about, well, I wouldn't say I won't care, but I'm not going to be here stealing your IP. Like, there's some agencies out there that will say, no, if we create content, we create your website, we own that. We get it so much. People say, oh, but you own our website, right? Or you own our content. I'm like, guys, I love you as customers and I think you've got a great business. Personally, though, I do not give a shit about your content or your website after you've stopped working with us. Like, that's just how it is. You own everything. We just want to be admin access into everything so we can manage it for you. But after that case, like, it's yours. Like, take it. Very happy for you to do so. Less heartache on our side. But yeah, it's very interesting how some of those agency models work. There's like 2-year contracts. Like, we wanted to work with one recently and they said, oh, we have to check our current contract with the agency we're with. And they came back and said, it's a 2-year contract. And I'm like, oh gosh, like, who locks you into a contract of 2 years? It was just one of those ones that just clipped over and they locked in, and people are so scared to try and, go to lawyers about those contracts. And I'm like, you know what, if you don't like working with someone, why should you have a contract in the first place? Like, sure, from a IP perspective or financing or budgeting perspective, but with all our customers we have, as long as we know that the results are being attained and all that, we can budget years in advance, because there shouldn't be any reason that a customer leaves other than they've sold the business or gone a different direction, or we just haven't performed. And I'm one for systems, processes, and really getting stuck into, that kind of data and working out why someone loves it. So one of the questions, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on your podcast, so I'll use French, but one of the questions, so I do a lot of thinking time. Fridays usually set up for that. And the one question I ask myself pretty much every single week is, if someone approached one of our customers and said, would you ever leave Dogulin or Dental Rank? What do we have to build in the business, in our communications, in our delivery, and in our systems for that customer to turn around to that person and say, absolutely no, right? What do we have to build? And if you have that kind of mindset, it's like, great, you put the customer first, you put definitely the results. And if it all comes down to that, the customer goes, there's absolutely no way we can leave them because they're getting great results for us. They're communicative. Everything we ask, they get done, all that kind of stuff. Like there's just no reason for them to then ever leave. That's the best kind of way to be.
Yeah, I love that, man. And the introspection, that strategic thinking and all that type of stuff is what made you successful and what makes business successful, guys. So definitely implement something like that. Implement some time where you do that, right? What's interesting is I guess we're not like self-made a lot of the time, right? Like we get coaches and mentors and people to help us to think like this, right? So I want to hear it from your point of view, is how important coaching mentor has been for you in your business and what it's helped you to achieve as well.
Massive, man. The best way I think about this, and an old business coach, well, a current friend of mine, but guys, he used to be a business coach of mine. You kind of think of like the Andre Agassi's, the Pete Samprases, all of them, right? Like they didn't get to where they were without coaches. They didn't do it all themselves. And you kind of got to look at it from a business point. But the one thing I always tell people when you're getting into business, I'm like, look, there's certain people that you have to hire day one, and that is a bookkeeper, an accountant, and a business coach. But a business coach, who's in your industry, that's been there and done that. So you can have a business coach that just knows business and the stuff that you have to do and how to negotiate and how to do sales and all that, but then get one that's done what you've done, right? So my coaches over the years, I've got one that currently, they're partners in big accounting firms, but bought and sold their own businesses. So they teach me from a business perspective what to focus on, how to train teams, build teams and all that. And then I've got coaches that have bought and, built, scaled, and sold, 7-8 figure agencies. And they're like, these are things to focus on. This is how you do profitability in an agency, and percentages from a business coach in a general sense compared to the percentages to look for in a business coach in an agency sense is very different, because we know where the prices are and things, but it's huge. And even just, you can get Boxer up with the one coach that I have, Troy Dean, and it's just like, hey man, this has just happened in the agency. Like, how do you do it? He's like, oh yeah, I remember when that happened with me. And it's awesome to hear that you're not the only one this has gone through. So coach is very important, but also masterminds, guys that are in the same sort of realm that you're in. And I love rubbing shoulders with guys that are the same level as me, some that are obviously higher, and then some that are, and I always find this a really weird concept. There's people who run agencies that aspire to be like our agency, and I'm like, dude, really? Like my agency is not that great, but by all means. So they're like, oh, how did you do X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, okay, well, this is my experience in it, and it's really fun. Like it's really cool to see. But yeah, coaches, 100% best investment you can ever make, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I love that, mate. Love it to hear, and completely agree with all of that. And I liked your point about multiple coaches as well, right? Because there's different things that we need, right? Like you said, it can be business in general. It can be specific on niche stuff. It could be mindset stuff. It could be a lot of things, right? 100%. That we get people in our lives, and the return is massive, guys, in what you do. And I'm not where I am today as well without my coaches and mentors helping me along the path. And Nicholas here has smashed it as well with all of that help, right? So that's really, it's really a shortcut basically, right, guys? It's like you can do it yourself. It might take you 10, 20, 30 years to get there, or why not invest in a coach and get there in 3 years, right?
It's interesting because so what my coaches keep telling me all the time is they don't know which hand to use, either left hand or right hand, to give me a backhand, because they say, Nick, what you're implementing now, I told you to implement 6 months ago. You didn't bloody listen. And I'm that kind. I've got to do it the hard way. I've got to do it myself. But it's always good having the coach there that can then tell you, I told you to do that. And yes, this is how you now do it, that you're ready to do it. And it's important, like the mindset coach, meditation coaches, general business coaches, health coaches, all that kind of stuff. Like I'm more than happy to invest a large amount of money into those, because it's actually going to pay dividends, down the track, and expedite your success by doing so. So yeah, it's weird actually if you hear people are in business and they don't have a mastermind or a mentor or anybody they can really talk to. I'm like, then how do you know if you're doing well or not? Like, what are you benchmarking it against?
Yeah, definitely, man. I love that. We met through a networking group where we instantly connected and shared our experiences with coaching, mentoring, along with talking business. And, you've achieved a lot of success in your businesses, and I'm sure you continue to innovate and provide products and services that are needed in the market. And you're a great guy, and I'm sure you'll continue to grow and help businesses to achieve their marketing goals. So I'm very grateful that we connected, and I look forward to working with you in the future as well.
Thank you, dude. And yeah, kudos to you, man, for what you've been able to achieve and who you've had on your podcast. And I know, this is only scratching the surface of what you're going to be achieving in your lifetime. So I'm very honored, to call you a friend and to know you personally and to be there by your side to see what you can achieve, mate. So yeah, full credit to you.
Awesome, mate. Thank you so much for your time today, Nicholas. I'm sure
Welcome.
Many people have greatly benefited from your wisdom. So how can people find you and get in contact with you?
Yeah, awesome. So sort of the best way is just LinkedIn. That's how everyone sort of gets me. I'm very proactive, on that. From a looking at the notifications and messages point of view, it's very easy to find me too. I'm the only Dogulin probably on LinkedIn. If it's not my brother, it's me. Dogulin. That's the best way to do it. Or by all means, just call through one of the agencies and we can have a chat then. But LinkedIn, I'll get back to you, and more than happy to have a chat, help out, have a coffee. I just love meeting people, and if I can help one person, then I feel I've accomplished a lot. So
awesome, mate. Love it. So thank you everyone for watching and listening to this show where we talk about everything on business growth. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube as Athin Cassiotis, or visit my website, athincassiotis.com. I completely agree with you, or do I? The only way I know is if you tune in next time. So until next time, remember that our business grows when we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. Have a great day.